There's this amazing clock in Harrisburg. Every time I go there to stake out the grand jury, I forget what I'm doing. I lose track of the time because of a clock. If you asked Rube Goldberg what time it was, he'd get his answer here. Billiard balls roll down a series of chutes, hop around, cause a gong to clang, and do a loop-the-loop. Problem is, I can never tell if the loopy workings inside this two-story monster really run the gears. I don't know if the clock is telling the time or if time is telling the clock. Either way, the hands at the top are always in the right place. And that's how things work here. A lot of noise and clanging and pointless bouncing around, and in the end, something comes out that approximates the time of day. It's just that you can never know what's moving the hands. You can't tell what's connected to what.
This is Strawberry Square. It's the headquarters of the State Attorney General, and it's where the grand jury meets. They meet here once a month. They last met on the final full week of October. Everybody suspects that somewhere down at the courthouse there's a document waiting to be unsealed that's going to shed more light on what happened in 2006 and the years leading up to it.
Somehow this town just messes people up. We send some people here, and it's the biggest town they've been to. Others get bored. Drink and sex and all manner of hijinks have brought people down. Shame is a common theme at exit interviews in this place. It's the capital of our state.
It just looks depressing. It looks forbidding. And it looks as if something augurs ill here. The trees are losing their leaves, but they're not quite naked. It's almost as if autumn itself has given up on the place.
Speaker of the House is a big job. Herb Feinman, a Democrat from Philadelphia, was a genius at leading. He was also convicted of bribery and he went to jail. Still, they put his picture in the Capitol lobby with the others.
This is how a politician wants to be remembered, a statue. That's Boise Penrose. He was the Republican leader in Pennsylvania, a United States Senator. He was known as cunning, ruthless, and ultimately corrupt. He didn't care about that. One time he was challenged in an election, criticized for being a bachelor. He said he'd marry any woman the party chose for him. When he left, he said he knew they'd build a statue to him. He was right. People at the Capitol joke that that statue is the only instance in which they ever saw Boise Penrose with his hand in his own pocket.
Now the law is after another speaker. John Purcell was a head waiter in Philadelphia when the bosses plucked him from tableside and ran him for office, and now, pushed out of the leadership, he's facing charges. They say he was playing with money. Jesus might love John Purcell too. As for his colleagues in the House, well, the reviews are mixed. He led them into an election disaster 3 years ago after he pushed through a pay raise that the voters hated. Now that he's in trouble, nobody's rushing to his aid. In short, in this place, they run to you when you're powerful. They run from you when you're in trouble.
Today we announce the filing of charges against 10 individuals. Current Republican representative and former Speaker of the House, John Purcell. John Purcell's former Chief of Staff, Brian Preskey. John Purcell's current Chief of Staff, Paul Toohey. Former Representative and Republican Chief Counsel, Brett Feast. And two of Feast's key aides, Al Bowman.
People sometimes ask, what do you find out when you stand around the grand jury? Well, the answer is really not much. You get a hint about who's coming and going. You certainly don't talk to the grand jurors. The prosecutors don't share anything. Mostly it's a matter of sort of standing around in the hallways, sometimes with a few other reporters, trying to look inconspicuous. Inevitably you get noticed, and then you leave with whatever you were able to derive from just watching people who won't talk to you. In a lot of ways, it's like looking for oil. You send the soundings down inside the earth and listen for the small hints that bounce back, and then you go from there. That's the entryway to the Attorney General's office. But that's not where the grand jurors go. They go to an elevator on the other side of the hall. One day I spent an afternoon looking at the wrong doors. All I saw were a lot of people in Hawaiian shirts leaving. They were having some kind of function up at the Department of Revenue that also shares that side of the building. I guess I could have busted a luau. So this is where the process ends, at least the first part, with the Attorney General at this podium announcing a raft of charges. While the press conference was going on, Purcell issued his own statement, bitterly accusing Corbett of using these charges to bolster his campaign for governor. What did Corbett have to say? Prove my innocence. Any response?
No.
Nothing?
Why should I? I've just laid out for you exactly what we've been doing for 2 years. I was hired to go after people, or elected to go after people if they've done wrong. Even if they help me, if they've done wrong, we're going to go after them.
In Harrisburg, I'm Dennis Roddy. This has been The Journal. Hindenburg, Harrisburg, if it isn't one blowing up, it's the other.
Look, honey, I can see our car from up here.
Needs washed.